Everybody, welcome to our weekly video. This week's Torah portion is Vayishlach, but I'm actually not going to share a thought on the Parsha, as packed as it is. I want to share about Shabbos. This Shabbos marks a very special occasion. It's the 19th day in the Jewish month of Kislev. The 19th day of Kislev in the Chabad community and the Hasidic communities really all around the world. It's become a very special holiday. In 1772, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, the founder of the Chabad movement, was arrested. He was arrested on false charges that he was supporting the Ottoman Turks because he was sending money to fellow Hasidim in the Holy Land. And he was supporting communities there. So he would raise money in Russia and then send it on. And being that Israel, the Holy Land, was under the Ottoman Turks, and the Turks and the Russians did not get along, so people conspired against him, and he was arrested on false charges that he was supporting the Turks. On the 19th day of Kislev, he was released, and his name was cleared of any charges. But Alter Rebbe, as he was known, Alter Rebbe, the old Rebbe, because he was the first, the Alter Rebbe understood this as an accusation against the expansion of Chassidus. And because the people behind it were the opponents of Chassidus. And at that point, he understood that his release was an approval, a divine approval on the expansion of Chassidus. So I want to share, what is Chassidus? And what was Chassidus Chabad? What did Chabad bring to the genre? What did Chabad bring to Jewish life in Eastern Europe and Jewish life today? I don't want to talk about Chabad as an organization that does good works, although that's also true, but that's not at the core of what Chabad is. So the Alter Rebbe wrote a book called the Tanya. Here's a picture. That's an artist's drawing of him. And the book is called the Tanya, which is named after the first word in the book. It starts with Tanya, which means it was taught in a Braisa, which is a teaching from the era of the Mishnah. And the idea behind it is as follows. You know, there was once a fellow stopped someone in New York City, says, "Can you tell me, how do I get to Carnegie Hall?" And the older wise man looked at him and said, "Practice, practice, practice." It's a great joke. There's a deep idea behind this. You could be at Carnegie Hall, but what does it mean to really be at Carnegie Hall? To really be there is not to be in the audience. It's to be making the music. The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Chassidus, he taught that we need to serve God with joy. We need to pray with joy, with enthusiasm. And people said to him, "What are you so happy about?" He says, "Well, imagine a deaf person went to a wedding and he sees people jumping up and down. He said, 'What are you guys doing?' Of course, unfortunately, he can't hear the music. But the Baal Shem Tov said, if you understood things the way I understood things, you would also pray with joy and enthusiasm." And the Hasidim were like, "Well, how do we do that?" So one response was the tzaddik. If you connect yourself to the tzaddik, to the holy Rebbe, then you serve God with joy. It impacts you. But the Alter Rebbe took this much deeper. He said, no, that's not really the way. And in the Tanya, he explains us a life program. And he opens up the book and he says, this book is the long, short way. What does it mean, the long, short way? The Gemara tells us that one of the rabbis, I think it was Rabbi Yeshua ben Hananya, wanted to go to a city. And he saw a little child, a Jerusalemite child. The Jerusalemite children were known for their wisdom. He said, "How do I get to the city?" He says, "I can give you the long, short way or the short, long way." He says, "Why don't you give me the short, long way?" So he says, "Go that direction." So he went that direction. He comes back. He says, I was almost at the city, but it's all surrounded by orchards and gardens. I can't get in. He says, I told you it was the long way. He says, okay, give me the long, short way. And he told him the other direction. Yes, you have to circumvent. It takes a little bit more time, but it gets you into the city. What the Alter Rebbe taught us, what Chassidus Chabad teaches us, that yet we can have a deep, meaningful relationship with God, that we can improve our character. We can truly become the person we're supposed to be, but it takes work. And sometimes it's 2 steps backwards, 1 step forward. But we work on ourselves and we develop an insight into ourselves that we understand that gets us where we want to be. I want to share 2 nuggets that you can take with you. Yesterday I met with a group of students, the incoming pledge class for the Jewish fraternity AEPI, and they all asked me all these questions. So one student said to me, Rabbi, do you believe in free choice? So I told them what Maimonides says. Maimonides says that we absolutely have to believe that we have free choice when it comes to our moral choices, and that we can decide not to do whatever our proclivities, whatever our lusts and desires are. The Alter Rebbe says that naturally the mind controls the heart. That we have the ability to intellectually understand our relationship with God, to intellectually understand our inner nature, to the point that we can develop a type of control that completely redirects the way we behave, redirects the way we think, redirects what we say. It's a foundational idea of Chassidus Chabad, is that we're not animals, and that we are not the whims of our feelings. We can decide to be different. Of course, that's why it's the long, short way. It takes time. Another core idea that I want to share with you, and this permeates all of Chassidus, and especially all of Chassidus Chabad, but I think it's something that's really important to everybody. The Alter Rebbe addresses the question, who are we? What are we? What is our identity? Who are we really? Are we the person that has lustful desire? Are we the person that has temptations for things that we shouldn't really be tempted with? Or are we the holy person that loves to pray and study Torah and help each other? Who's the real me? And the Alter Rebbe explains that the true identity of the Jew is the divine soul. And the divine soul is really who we are. And it's just that we also have an animal soul. The animal soul wants to keep us going, but the divine soul really wants to connect us with God. And the objective, the purpose of life, is to subjugate the animal soul to the divine soul. And this is life's long journey. But I want to share the upshot of all this. The upshot of all this is, if I am a divine soul, then what are you? Also a divine soul. If I see myself as a holy being, then I see you as a holy being. And when I look at someone that doesn't behave the way I think they should behave, I say to myself, but this is a holy being. This is a divine soul. And I'm able to overlook their faults and their blemishes. It's how do I define the other person? Do I define the other person by their animalistic tendencies? Or do I define the other person like I define myself as a divine soul? And that leads us to Ahavas Yisrael, to love for a fellow Jew, to really care for another, to see each other in a positive light, to see each other as something very different than we may do otherwise. That is one of the beautiful teachings of Chassidus Chabad. I would encourage you to learn the Tanya. There's a great book by Adin Steinsaltz called Opening the Tanya. If anyone would like to study with me, I'm more than happy to start a class one-on-one or multiple people together, and we can really grow together. And with that, I will wish you a good Shabbos.